Welcome back. Thanks for joining us again. This is the dried look. So let's just have a little assessment. This is our vertical shape, nice and fluid. Again, it looked like it was going to be very, very heavy or either too heavy or too short. You know, it was a real mixed bag of what you guys thought would happen. So we're going to get started now with our refining, okay? So we spoke about this when we first started the tutorial, saying that we were concentrating really on building the graduation. So everything we've done so far was all about creating a shape that was shorter externally, longer internally, without creating a step, and would then promote a shape that was going longer towards the front, okay? So we're going to start now by placing our line. Now also, if you remember, we said we were going to be leaving the front to the end, which is great. So far, I'm just going to quickly recap. We've wrap dried the hair, ran the straighteners over the ends, as you can probably tell. We put these little clips in just to hold the hair and stop the hair from falling forward whilst I refine. And now we're just going to start and go ahead and start to put in my outline. Oh, as it almost falls over. So essentially what we're going to do is leave the hair in its natural form, okay? We're going to push the head slightly on its side. So I'm almost using gravity that almost just pulled me to the ground. We're going to use gravity to essentially refine our shape. So I need this at eye level. So if you're doing this on the salon floor, you might want to get a stool. Okay, so we pull the hair down, and I'm going to ignore the length at the front initially. And we're going to start with a club cutting technique, which is where I'm removing, if you like, if I need to remove a lot of hair, I'll club cut first, okay? If I need to remove small amounts of hair, like when we come into this section here, I'm just going to see if I can't move you a little bit closer. So, just get in the right position. Okay, so now after I've club cut, you can see it's quite jagged, that line. Okay, that's because when you cut straight like this, you're cutting a curved line here. It's never going to sit perfect with just club cut. Let me go in with our pointing technique, which is where I'm cutting, aiming my scissors underneath the line, okay? Now the benefit of the pointing aspect, obviously there's no point in doing this if there's a lot of hair to remove. You know, I'm just giving you a rundown of what we're doing. So when I go underneath the line like so, it's helping me to collapse the line. Then I can go over it again with my club cut and I've got a much stronger line, okay? So what I'm gonna do is just try to raise my camera a little because you need to be, there, that's loads better, okay. So as we come to the front here, what I'm going to do is just to let this, again, after I got the hair warm, I immediately pinned the hair in here and let it cool in that position, which is helping me to, if you like, promote this length towards the front. So I'm going to go underneath here and just start to remove some of that length, okay? So just a little bit for now. If I just pin this out the way, you know, when you're looking around and you think, please be one more pin, thank God there was. Okay, so I'm just getting that out of the way so we can see. Yeah, I'll show you, I'll happily do a slow motion of the club cut. First, I'm just going to bring all the hair down, okay? This helps me see anything that's hiding away. Now, club cut, generally what I do is I will secure the scissors on my hands and I'll go through and I'll just be cutting a straight line, okay? But when I cut, if you notice, my blade is going slightly back. This is to ensure that I'm not pushing the hair that is yet to be cut out of the way. So then we go through, and where you can see this like more bulbous shape, like here, we start to use our chipping technique and pointing techniques. Chipping is where I go in quite deep and start to remove bulk, okay? The pointing is where I remove and shape the line. So when I'm looking to really shape the line, I will use the pointing method, which is just using the very tip of the scissor. Okay. You know, again, one of my heroes, Gianni will do something like this and just touch the hair and it will just magically know what to do. He's absolutely amazing, but that's starting to work for me, okay? So that's great. So we're going to now move on to the back. So we have to know now, we've got to take off this big, ugly shape from here, okay? So that's what we're going to do. So to do this, we're going to start with our club cut because there's just so much hair in the way, okay? So we're going to go through holding the scissors, okay? Let me just check you guys can see this, okay? So then we're gonna go, each time I cut it, I start to lift my elbow a little bit on this side, okay? So then we come around here, you look at the hairline. One of the great things about pivot point 2 is having the sign there really, really helps. So I know what I'm doing. Now then, that's my rough copy, okay? It isn't quite neat enough yet. So we're gonna go back in there. Now, what method do you think I'm gonna use to be softer, chipping or pointing? Remember, chipping is where I go in deeper. Do you see that? Where I think, oh, that's a bit heavy, that's a bit clumpy, I want to take away some more hair. That is when I will use my chipping. Now, my pointing is when I'm just going to go in and I'm going to change the line. So you see here where I think that the length there isn't quite right. I'm going to go through and I'm going to start to create that a lot sharper. So I'm just going to step away from what I'm doing. I'm going to turn off the comments for 1 second, and what I'm going to do is look at a haircut without the comments so I can really see. So let's just click that out of the way. So this is the vertical shape we talked about, vertically triangular, building a shape with weight on the top without having a really heavy step, but this beautiful soft silhouette. The outline, as you can see, is getting there. Again, it's always handy to use the mirror and just refine off any little bits, but it's starting to look really soft and more suitable. And essentially this is how I always do mine. I start from the front of this side. Now if you're right-handed, you do the opposite, but you wouldn't do anything different. People always say that to me, oh, but you're left-handed. I goes, yeah, but everyone who's ever taught me was right-handed. So the only thing we do is we don't do anything different to each other, left or right-handed people. We just do it on the other side. Just going to re-put that in because I've messed about with my section so much there. That's better. See, this is what I wanted. I've got this really nice flick going forward, okay? I do adore this shape. I always love it when I have a client come in and they say, you know, I've got a lot of weight behind the head, behind the ear, and I'm like, oh, yes, here we go. So I'm going to start by creating my angular line, okay? What I'm going to do now is I'm going to keep moving. So I want you to imagine that when I move the mannequin, it's so you can see more. But I actually wouldn't do that on a client. I would actually move around the client, okay? The area that we cut in here is almost like a guideline of where we need to get to. What's that called? It's called club cutting, yeah? Club cutting is where I use it to remove, if you like, a lot of hair. Pointing is my little my fine lighter pen, yeah? My little fine lighter is where I go through and really fine tune what I do. Pointing is where, you know, I go in and give it a really good ironing and make sure we get rid of anything that's not quite right. I've got a lot of people watching, which is great. If you like what you see, make sure you share the post with other people. Now you see, this is what I love. When I go through here and you just start to get that really beautiful shape. Just going to get this out of the way. So essentially, I'm just going to switch comments off for a sec. Okay. So again, what I did here was, guys, if you're doing a client and they say to you, I want a graduated bob, but I do want more length at the front. Obviously, it can be a pain because people usually associate that with the shape horizontal, don't they? They think I've got to over-direct it more to get that shape, but actually you don't. It's not about over-direction at all. It's actually about disconnecting your vertical shape. If you disconnect the shape top to bottom, it's rare that you'll see where the disconnection took place. But if you disconnect the shape going side to side, i.e. length here and short here, it's more obvious where that disconnection took place. So with the 4 diagonal section, we left some panels out and we dried them and refined them in. But you can't really tell or see where the disconnection took place. And essentially that is the beauty of, because what disconnection really is where 2 bodies of hair are not knitted together with a guideline. That essentially is what disconnection is. And then I think it breaks into 2 areas. You have practical, which is where we use disconnection to solve a problem. And you have visual disconnection. That's looking beautiful. You have visual disconnection, which is obviously when we do something more aggressive. What I'm going to do now is get my little trimmers. Okay, so I'm just going to do that. Okay, so the trimmers are used to flatten the line, okay? They're not really used to create the line, okay? Does that make sense? So you're not going to go in and like put your line in with them, really. I have no issue with anybody doing what they want to do, but obviously with it's all saved, Debbie, don't worry. And they don't always have the length front. Yeah, it's a good point, Susie, really good point. What Susie was saying there is sometimes when a client wants this, they might have a fringe. Isn't that a nightmare? Because you're like, well, you really can't have it, because you're showing me a haircut that isn't long enough at the moment. You know, your hair isn't long enough. I go through, you see, can you hear the noise of how little it's taking off? It just gives such a lovely technique. Now, I used to have a bit of an attitude about using trimmers for this type of haircut. I love this, but have half my side of short hair. That's still quite cool though, Brenda. I think that looked really interesting. I used to have this real attitude about using trimmers. I used to joke and say, it's like running the marathon, but using a Segway. I used to make this real attitudey joke about it. But then one of my mentors, again, Jean-Baptiste Mazzella, who is probably the master of the technical haircut, he showed me how to use this properly. And he showed me like the benefits of it and how it differs. It does do things that the scissors can't do. Give it a little recomb. Because just when you think you've finished it, you know, you'll comb it and you will see, something. I'm definitely, when I watch this back, if you haven't seen it from the beginning, I actually fell over at the start. So make sure you watch the start when I actually fell over. It's looking nice, isn't it, guys? What's everyone thinking? Have got any questions at all? Because we're pretty much done. Oh, that's really kind. Thank you. That's really, really kind. Oh, I've just pressed something. There we go. So, Jonah Hill here, refining the outline. That is a nice shape, to be fair. It's sitting really, really nice for me. So it's been kind. Again, the mannequin head from Pivot Point has really helped. But turn the head and see what changes. Like, I can see a couple of things in there that aren't quite right. Maybe you can see it too. This area here. So instead of, let's say, instead of me just texturizing it, I'm just going to relift that section and take off a small amount of hair. And I'm going to re-groom that into position and it's gone. You see, I don't always need to thin it out. And I've clipped away the other side. Which is a little tip there. If you are taking a picture of something like this, the other side sometimes can get in the way. But it's really interesting to just take a little picture. If someone gets a nice screenshot of that, just make sure you tag us in it. It looks so cool, the shape. I was really happy with that. Okay, have we got any questions, guys? Let's have a look. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you so much, guys. That's very beautiful. Thank you. The View Hairdressing. That's really kind, guys. Thank you. I made up with that. Yeah, it is. You know what Dennis has said there is exactly right. It is quite soft. And generally, I think that was what we were talking about at the start. I think it was Susie who said, when you were lifting the haircut up, it looked like it was going to go too high. Do you remember at the start? A recap on the sections, no problem. So when we were lifting it, you thought it's going to go too high, but that's what's giving you the softness. So the sections, get your face in for the screenshot. No, I'm so minging. Shake it. Beautiful. I just love this sort of haircut. That's what I'm saying about the education side of it too, because when you actually do this as an education haircut, it's not subjective. Do you know what I mean by that? Like, you're not making it up as you go along. So yeah, it's really cool. Sorry, yeah, so the sectioning was, we cut this in a centre parting today. From the top of the crown area, we took 2 4 diagonal sections working to just on the recession area, okay? The recession area, if your client wanted this quite heavily elongated, you could actually take the section a little bit lower. It would give you more hair to cut in at the end. So that's a little tip, guys. You know, when you're sectioning, if you are looking to do this as a haircut and you want to maybe leave some hair out, if you want more hair than this, like let's say more hair further back, if you actually, if you take your 4 diagonal sections a little bit lower, you'll actually get a bit more hair to tuck in at the end. So that's it. Then we took a vertical section, 2 4 diagonal sections. Why are the sections 4 diagonal? Well, it's no surprise that the whole point of being 4 diagonal is because that's the way the shape is cut. The shape is cut to round in longer towards the front. Well, I've loved doing this, guys. Absolutely loved it. I'm just gonna have a little look here because I've just messed my section up a little bit. Yeah, I get told I look like Jonah Hill a lot, which isn't really a compliment. But Jonah Hill when he was really fat, though, obviously. Right. Thank you so much, guys. Bless you all. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Thank you.